6 spine-chilling camping tales uncovered, terrifying secrets revealed by the haunted wilderness. Lisa tightened her grip on the steering wheel as the car wound deeper into the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. The trees were like soldiers, tall and menacing, reaching for the sky while blocking out the sunlight. The further they traveled, the more the weight of her small-town life faded. Stressful shifts, disapproving neighbors, and mounting bills felt like yesterday's worries, a distant memory replaced by the thrill of adventure. Beside her, 10-year-old Ben and 7-year-old Mia giggled, their excitement palpable as they spotted a deer dart across the road. They arrived at the decrepit ranger station as the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the woods cloaked in an eerie gloom. The paint peeled and windows shattered, remnants of laughter from bygone campers whispering tales of missing hikers and restless spirits. "Cool!" Ben exclaimed, running toward the crumbling structure, while Mia clung to Lisa's side, her eyes wide with both wonder and fear. Night wrapped around them like a shroud as they gathered around the campfire. The crackling flames cast elongated shadows that danced across the trees, and Lisa felt the chill of the mountain air seeping into her bones. "Did you know this forest is said to be haunted?" she began, her voice low and conspiratorial. The kids leaned in, intrigued. Lisa wove her tales filled with forgotten spirits and echoes of the past. But when she spoke of the rogue ranger, the mood shifted. Legend had it he was abandoned by the forest itself, cursed to steal the memories of those who ventured too deep. Suddenly, laughter turned into a hollow echo that swallowed their words, leaving a lingering tension in the air. A chill crept down Lisa's spine, realizing it felt as if the woods, watching with hungry eyes, had absorbed their joy. Later that night, tucked inside their tents, a sudden jolt woke Lisa. Something was wrong and instinctual dread prickled at her skin. As dawn broke, she unzipped her tent and froze. Strange symbols marred the trees surrounding their campsite, jagged lines and swirls that twisted her stomach. They felt like a warning, an invitation to madness she had no desire to accept. A park ranger appeared unexpectedly, his uniform a stark contrast against the backdrop of nature. "You need to leave now. It's not safe here," he insisted, urgency lining his voice. Fear nodded within Lisa as she observed his darting gaze toward the shadows, a hint of something sinister lurking beneath his bravado. Before she could protest, the children, mesmerized, began wandering closer to the trees. Ben's eyes glazed as he stared into the depths, Mia tracing her fingers over one of the symbols, entranced. Panic surged through Lisa. "Get back here!" she yelled, but the words barely broke through the thick air. Then, a low rumble echoed through the trees, a morbid whisper, cold and haunting. It felt like the lost were speaking, merging with the wind. In that moment, laughter from the night before twisted through the air, sending a new wave of terror crashing down. The ranger's silhouette blended into the shadows, his gaze piercing, as if he knew their names, knew they belonged to the woods. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lisa's heart raced, adrenaline surging as she realized their chance for escape was slipping away. The forest felt alive, the trees whispering secrets only they could hear. As the intimidating ranger took a step back, shadows thickened, warping around her children, drawing them closer to the darkness. If she didn't act fast, they might not return. What secrets lay deeper in the wood, and who would emerge from the darkness, her family or the memories claimed by the rogue ranger? A frantic howl of wind cut through the campsite, harsh and desolate, driving Lisa's heart to hammer against her ribs. She lunged toward Ben and Mia, but the shadows danced and twirled, as if the very darkness was alive, laughing at her desperation. "Children." The word felt weak, lost in the choking mist teetering around them. Mia stood frozen, her eyes wide, tracing the intricacies of the symbols jutting out from the bark as though they were laced with magic. "Mom, look!" she whispered, her small finger pointing at an odd shimmer, something that flickered just beyond the trees. "Don't!" Lisa shouted, her voice sharp, pulling Ben back who seemed enraptured, drawn to the flickering light. It glowed brighter, pulsating like a heartbeat, eerily syncing with the terror tumbling in her stomach. The ranger's eyes darted nervously between the children and the depth of the woods. "Listen to your mother," he barked, panic creeping into his tone, his previous authority slipping. "You need to go now, there's no time." A crack echoed, and Lisa's heart sank deeper, the sound reverberating through the trees like a death knell. In an instant, a chill blanketed the air, and the whispers swelled, becoming screams, lost cries that clawed at her sanity. Ben's face twisted in confusion, while Mia yet again leaned toward that shimmering allure. "Mom." Ben's voice quivered, caught between fear and curiosity. "What's that?" The ranger stepped closer, his voice now a fervent hiss. "It's not just the forest that's haunted. You have to understand this place it consumes. It will take you and never let you go." The shadows coiled around the base of the trees, curling like serpents eager to strike. Lisa felt her breath quicken, each passing second echoing the urgency in her mind. "Mia, Ben, come on. Now!" she shouted, fighting the panic rising like bile in her throat. But the symbols seemed to thrum, alive and beguiling, spreading their wicked influence. Mia's tone shifted, quiet yet haunting. "But Mom, it's beautiful, no. It's a trap." The reality clawed at Lisa's reason, forcing her to fight against whatever drew her children closer to the forest. She lunged forward, grabbing Ben with one hand while reaching for Mia with the other, but the connection between her child and the symbols rippled, and time wrenched in a sickening stretch. Mia's eyes flared with a strange light, her small fingers twitched as if trying to break free of her mother's grasp. "Mom, I can hear them." With a spine-shivering realization, Lisa felt the weight of the woods bearing down on her, suffocating her spirit. "No. You can't listen to them, honey." She yanked Mia back just as the forest shook to life, branches snapping, echoing like bones breaking. The ranger faded into a blur between them and the trees, his voice swallowed by the rising roar. "You don't understand. They don't just take memories, they feed off of fear." Amidst the chaos, panic swelled as the air thickened, shadows twisted and darkened, taking on menacing forms that threatened to consume her. Lisa's intuition screamed to flee, the primal answer to the voice calling them from deep within the woods. "Run," she barked, taking the children's hands in a vice grip, but the earth shifted, refusing to let go. The ground trembled ominously, turning the path behind them into a fabric of nightmares. They took a hesitant step back, the shadows now twisting into faces etched with silent agony, their eyes pleading for rescue, yet haunting in their desperation. And then, the whispers transitioned again, murmuring her name softly, seductively. As the forest tried to reclaim them, twisting the very air around their bodies, Lisa lunged forward, ready to pull them beyond the threshold of darkness and into the waking light. But something was off, an absence she could feel all too well. A presence that thrived in the blackness, a sinister thrum at her back. Something was coming, she could see it just beyond the boundary. Its outline rippled, a figure both alluring and terrifying, promising safety, yet shielding its true face. "Join us," and the world around them tilted precariously. Would they remain together through the darkness, or would they slide into its voracious grip? "Move now," she shouted, feeling time stall and stretch painfully as dread washed over them. She turned to flee, toward the mountain, deeper into the night, but who or what awaited in the darkness? Something was watching, waiting for them to falter, to doubt. Lisa fought against the tightening grip of the forest, with her heart pounding in rhythm with the encroaching shadows. Ready or not, they were not alone anymore. Where would this cursed journey take them next? They broke into a sprint, Lisa's grip tightening around her children's small hands as if they were her lifeline. The trees loomed like sentinels, dark and twisted, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the air became, thick with despair and echoes of past cries. "Mom, wait!" Ben gasped, fighting against her hold. "I can't breathe." "Just keep moving," she urged, glancing back to see the shadows pulsating behind them, hissing like a feral beast. Fear surged in her chest, a cold and clammy grip that wouldn't release its hold. The world flickered, wavering at the edges like a film reel stuck on a loop, a twisted reflection of something terrifying. Mia fell behind slightly, her breath shallow and uneven. Lisa felt a surge of disbelief flood through her, urging her to turn and check on her daughter. But the oppressive darkness clung to them like a suffocating shroud, enticing her to look back into its depths. It was maddening. The shadows whispered secrets, coaxing and mocking, offering thrilling promises that made her hesitate. "Mom, I hear them." Mia's voice trembled, straining to be heard over the combined racket of groaning wood and rustling leaves. "They want to pull you in," Lisa shouted, forcing her feet to keep moving. "Don't listen, honey." She pictured the sinister figure, its features hidden yet unnervingly familiar, lurking at the edge of her mind. The path flicked in and out of existence, trees shifting in a ghostly dance, their bark appearing to twist into faces, twisting with silent screams of agony. Lisa's heart pounded harder as she tried to navigate the maniacal landscape. "Over here." The ranger's voice sliced through the hazy night, unnerving yet desperate. He was standing just ahead, beckoning them with a wild urgency in his eyes. Relief washed over Lisa momentarily, only to be swallowed by the realization that something felt wrong. "Come on, they're getting closer." His hands gestured, frantic and erratic. The ground shifted beneath them, pulling slightly, a rotten apple yielding to rot. "Mom. I don't want to." Mia cried, the fear cracking through her voice, dragging it to the surface like a deep wound. "Trust me." Lisa shouted back, knowing that hesitation in any direction could lead them to the jaws of despair. They pushed forward, heartbeats a wild cadence against the rising darkness. It swirled and thickened all around, like a malevolent fog intent on swallowing the unwary whole. "Why aren't you moving?" The ranger's voice turned shrill, a tinge of madness creeping in. "You don't have time." Suddenly, the shadows shifted in a grotesque harmony, and from them, forms emerged, whirling and curling, sharpening into human shapes, lost souls pleading silently for release. Lisa stumbled, her feet suddenly entangled within the fabric of despair. "Mama!" Ben shouted, yanking on her arm now. "Let us just go back." "Back to what?" Her voice was a raspy whisper. "You don't understand, the forest wants you." She pulled both children closer, her heart racing not just with fear, but with the instinct to shield them from the primal terror that loomed just beyond their sight. But then, it was too late. As Lisa turned toward the ranger for guidance, she perceived the truth in his wide, frantic eyes. The shadows caught him, wrapping around him like a predator with its prey. The last thing she saw was his mouth moving, trying to yell, trying to warn, but it was drowned in a flood of whispers that rose like a tidal wave. They screamed in unison, torn between grief and terror, the forest howling in response. Every tree seemed to shudder with the weight of their fear, branches snapping, limbs reaching, and then, everything went silent, the air shivered. And at once, the shadows that had taken the ranger surged forward, consuming the space between them, threatening to engulf Mia and Ben. Fighting against instinct, Lisa took a step back, her eyes darting around. "Stay close." But the shadows were already closing in, whispering promises in twisted tongues. "Join us." The seductive lure wrapped around her senses, beckoning. One choice lay before her, to fight the darkness or surrender to it. What would she sacrifice to save her children from the ominous grasp of the forest? As the darkness loomed closer, she felt the last vestiges of hope slip away. Would she give in, or could she claw through the nightmare? Then she saw it, a flicker of brilliance, something shining deep within the murky chaos. But was it a beacon of hope, or another trap waiting to ensnare them? "Mom!" Mia pulled, breaking Lisa's trance. "Where do we go?" With desperation tightening her grip, Lisa made her choice, a flicker of defiance igniting within the hollowness. "Forward." But into what? As they ran, the shadows followed, laughing and howling, a cacophony of dread weaving tighter around them. What awaited them just beyond the shadows? Would anything stand in their way, or were they marching toward a far more sinister truth? The ground trembled beneath their feet, the very earth shouting warnings they couldn't comprehend. Lisa clutched her children tighter, panic clawing at her throat as they rushed deeper into the trees. The flickering light she thought was a sign of hope flickered out, swallowed by the oppressive gloom. Fear drummed in her ears, drowning out everything but the whispers that taunted them. "Mom, I can't keep," Ben panted, his breath hitching like he might choke on the horror that was all around them. She glanced down briefly. His face was pale, beads of sweat glimmering like beads of glass. "No, Ben. You can. We need to move." She felt the urgency swell in her chest, driving her forward, but the shadows nipped at her heels, growling low like ravenous beasts. It was only the three of them now, but a sinking dread whispered that their number would dwindle if they let despair take hold. "Look!" Mia's eyes were wide, pointing into the dark veil of trees. A shimmer danced just ahead, pale and ethereal, a wavering light cutting through the chaos. "Don't. It's a trick," Lisa shouted, her instincts screaming warnings at her. But Mia's eyes were locked on the glow, drawn in like a moth to a flame. The darkness tightened, snapping at their heels. "No more talking. We need to go." Lisa gritted her teeth, gripping the hands of her children tighter than ever. They surged forward, but the brightness flickered and faded, pulling Mia and Ben's attention away from the tangling shadows. With each step, the air thickened, pressing against them like a weight. It felt suffocating, crawling into their lungs, choking out hope. Trees twisted into grotesque forms, shadows wrapping around them like clawed hands trying to pull them back. Lisa fought the urge to turn and face the darkness, to see the thing that was pursuing them. "Mom. Please." Ben wailed, but she couldn't look back. But then the laughter returned, sinister and mocking, echoing through the forest. It was everywhere, inside her head, inside her heart, welling up with every heartbeat, every gasp for precious air. "Join us," the whispers hissed, a chilling lullaby caressing her senses. "No," she screamed. "We're not yours." But even as she screamed, a crack splintered in her resolve. The sounds hummed, vibrating through her skin like a warning bell. Would a moment of surrender, a choice to let go, bring peace to her children? Each fleeting thought twisted into doubt, her grip loosening for just a heartbeat. Then, from the corner of her eye, Lisa saw them. Figures, shadowy forms hanging from the branches, their faces twisted in anguish, mouths open as if in a perpetual scream. "Mama, help." Mia's voice wavered, and Lisa felt her heart lurch. Those faces, they were lost souls, trapped, and the forest was alive with them. "No," she bellowed, dragging her children with her through the haze of despair. "Stay with me, don't look back." But the shadows closed in, coiling around them like smoke, sinister and suffocating. As they raced forward, the path wavered once more, transforming into a maze of impenetrable darkness. And then she saw him, the ranger, now a specter in the chaos, his lips moving in a silent plea. Lisa's heart raced faster as she caught a glimpse of the truth. He wasn't a guide, he was another lost soul, another victim of the forest. "Mom." Ben wailed, terror mixing with desperation. Each pulse of fear pushed Lisa further, propelling her into the murkiness. Was the truth that there was no escape? One final scream rent the air, a shriek of pure despair, and the shadows surged. The forest roared around them, and Lisa felt it pulling. The darkness wanted her, needed her. Would she let it? No. Her voice shattered the noise, and with every ounce of strength, she forced her feet to keep moving. They had to go on, they had to find a way through this nightmare. But just behind them, she could nearly feel the darkness reaching in, clawing at the air, hungry for what it could not have. "Mom." "Where?" Mia's voice broke the suffocating silence, her small hands trembling in Lisa's grip. The swirling shadows seemed to pulse within. Ominous rhythm, a heartbeat that mirrored their own. Lisa breathed in deep, steeling herself against the dark chasm threatening to swallow them whole. She caught sight of something. A fork in the path lay ahead, one side shrouded in black mist, the other flickering with a faint, golden glow. What choice would she have to make? Which path would lead to escape or to their final doom? "Mom." Ben pleaded again, and she could feel the weight of both their fears pressing down on her. The forest whispered louder, a cacophony of lost voices urging her to choose. Would she risk it all for a glimpse of light? Or stay entrenched in the shadow of despair? Just then, they caught a glimpse of movement behind them. Something was breaking through the swirling darkness, forcing its way in with a malevolent hunger. Time was running out. Where would their feet lead them next? Everything around them felt alive, a living nightmare throbbing with intent. Lisa stood frozen at the fork, the golden light winking at her, beckoning with a muted promise of safety that seemed almost real. She could sense the cold tendrils of darkness creeping ever closer, threatening to engulf her and her children in a shroud of horror. "Mom, please." Ben's voice sliced through her panic, raw and desperate. Gathering her resolve, Lisa glanced at her children's terrified faces, their wide eyes reflecting her own dread. The golden glow pulsed softly, illuminating their path in a way that offered just enough hope to feel fragile. She had to act. There was no time for hesitation. "Ben, Mia, follow me," she shouted, the command biting through the blanket of fear. She sprinted towards the golden light, dragging her children with her. As they plunged into the glow, the trees seemed to gasp, the dark mists dissipating slightly, exposing a narrow trail winding ahead. But the laughter behind them twisted, warped, merging with her children's gasps. "Mom! What's happening?" Mia cried out, her voice trembling like leaves in a storm. "Keep moving. Don't stop," Lisa urged, leading them onward. The ground beneath their feet felt more stable, but the shadows still clawed at the edges of her vision, an incessant reminder of what could chase them back into despair. The golden light brightened momentarily, illuminating the path more clearly, a path lined with what looked like flower petals, glowing softly. The strange beauty felt wrong. "Mom, are those real flowers?" Ben asked, his voice shaking. Lisa hesitated but shook her head. "Stay close." She didn't want to contemplate the truth. They pressed on, hearts racing, fear still clinging to each breath. The incessant whispering morphed into a curious hum, swirling around them like a sinister serenade. Suddenly, Mia stumbled, tripping over what looked like a discarded doll, its porcelain face cracked and covered in dark soil. "Mom, I don't like this," she cried, her eyes wide with fright. Before Lisa could respond, a chilling wind swept through the trees, forcing her to shield her face. The gentle hum turned to a resonating roar, crashing against her ears and sending shards of panic slicing through her thoughts. And then silence. The world stood still. Lisa's heart pounded, each beat echoing in the unforgiving stillness. She looked down at her children. "Make a choice," she implored, feeling the weight of the moment. "One path leads to escape, the other." She swallowed hard as the shadows surged at the edge of the glow, whispering truths she couldn't bear to hear. "Mom!" Ben tugged at her shirt, his eyes darting between the two paths as if sensing that something was very wrong. The darkness seemed to shift, almost alive, creeping closer with every heartbeat. The choices weren't just paths, they felt like fates, intertwining destinies filled with unknown terrors. "What do we do?" Mia cried, her small voice breaking. As Lisa opened her mouth to respond, the golden light dimmed. The shadows thickened, stretching out like claws toward them. Something whispered from behind, so close now she felt its breath against her neck, cold and rancid. Her heart raced. "Believe in me. Trust me," she shouted, hoping the walls of darkness that confined them didn't enclose her children with despair. Just then, a loud crack echoed through the trees. It felt as though the ground had split, rumbling ominously. They needed to choose, but time was a merciless predator closing in fast. "Mom, please," Ben begged again, eyes wild with terror as the shadows surged forward, a wave drawing closer. Before the moment drowned in chaos, Lisa glanced again at her kids. They were all she had left. "Stick together," she yelled, feeling the crack of fear in her own voice. And with one final glance, she launched herself down the left path, a choice with no return, yet at that moment, it felt like their only hope. Shadows clawed violently behind them, and the weight of darkness pulsed in the air. They sprinted onward, shadows gnashing at their heels, desperate to Reclaim what they had lost. But would the choice lead to salvation or a far worse fate? With each step, their escape tugged at the seams of reality. The choice ahead bore the threads of dread as they ran deeper into the unknown. And in the distance, an echo resonated through the silence. Join us, it lingered in the air, sweet and sickening. Fear pooled in Lisa's gut. She had chosen a path, but what lay at the end of it? The shadows loomed larger, hungry and waiting. The path twisted sharply, leading them deeper into an oppressive darkness. Lisa strained to hear anything other than the frantic thudding of her heart, but the cacophony of whispering shadows wrapped around them, taunting her with unfathomable secrets. The shadows moved like restless spirits, morphing into shapes that flickered at the edge of her sight. "Mom, I can't. I can't keep running." Ben gasped, his small legs struggling to keep pace. Lisa turned back, meeting his wide, terrified eyes, and felt her own pulse quickening with guilt. They had no choice. Fear spiraled quicker than she could grasp. Just a little further. Her voice broke, but she pushed the panic aside. The glimmer of golden light was still somewhere ahead, fading as they hurried. She had to maintain that hope. It was their only lifeline. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a clearing cloaked in darkness. The air felt thick, almost smothering. Lisa felt something evolve in the spear of silence, an unsettling waiting. She glanced at Ben and Mia, who were huddled close together, their faces pale and drawn. "Is it always like this?" Ben whispered, fear clawing at his throat. Lisa pressed a finger to her lips. Behind them, the shadows grew restless. There came a low growl, an echoing rumble of something lurking just out of view. It broke through the carpet of silence, chilling her to the bone. "Mom, we need to go," Mia whispered urgently, tugging on Lisa's shirt. "Stay calm," Lisa managed, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. But where could they go? Every direction felt like it led back to that malevolent darkness, waiting to swallow them whole. Then suddenly, a flicker of golden light burst forth at the far end of the clearing, dancing playfully like a firefly. A siren's call, a false promise. Lisa's instinct screamed at her it was too easy. "No, don't go for it." But Ben had already darted toward the glow. "Ben!" The warning was lost to the weight of the moment. It was too late. Her heart slammed in her chest as she lunged after him. Just as his fingers brushed the light, the laughter returned sharp and fragmented, filled with malice. The golden light wrinkled, folding into the sky like a brittle page, leaving only darkness in its place. Ben's scream sent ripples of ice through Lisa's veins. "Mom! Help!" he cried, terror slicing through the air as he was abruptly pulled back from the light by unseen hands. "No!" Lisa lunged forward, grasping him just in time, but the dark tendrils gripped at his legs, dragging him backward into the depths of the clearing. The shadows seemed to swell and rise, forming a chaotic mass that tasted like dread and despair. "Mom!" Mia screamed, echoing Ben's terror, her tiny frame skidding beside them, desperate. "Hold on. Hold on to each other," Lisa shouted, fighting against the pull of the shadows. She wrapped her arms tightly around both kids, shaking with desperation. The shadows clawed at them, snaking around their ankles, 1,000 fingers attempting to drag them into the earth, but something shifted in the darkness. A voice, smooth and coaxing, slithered through the air. "Leave her, join us, little ones." The promise was poison, sweet yet rotting. "Ben, don't. Don't listen," Lisa screamed. The children clung tighter, but Lisa felt her strength waning as the shadows pulled with relentless force. She had to take a stand. "Fight it," she roared, clarity breaking through the haze of fear. What was lurking in the shadows? What awaited if they succumbed? As she stood defiant, a sudden light flashed from the depths of the dark mass. It was a blinding flash that filled the clearing and cast serpentine shadows scrambling away, releasing their grip for just a moment. "Run!" Without thinking, she tore down the other side of the clearing, dragging Mia and Ben behind her, retracing their steps. The laughter was gone, replaced by a chilling silence that vibrated through the ground. But she knew they weren't free yet. The shadows had not disappeared, they were simply waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As they neared the edge of the clearing, another growl echoed through the trees, deep and resonant. Lisa could feel something large moving through the darkness, closing in on them once more. What lay behind them? Would the darkness reclaim them before they found an escape? The winding path loomed ahead, fading just beyond the flickering shadows. But a sudden, sharp cry echoed from deeper within that dark forest, far too familiar. Mom! Lisa's heart dropped. Ben! Stay close! Lisa barked, her voice barely cutting through the suffocating darkness. The chill of the night clawed at her flesh, and the shadows beyond the clearing felt alive, hunger radiating from their depths. Ben's terrified face haunted her, but she couldn't stop to comfort him. They had to keep moving. With each frantic step, the twisted path underfoot felt unstable, as if the earth itself was shifting beneath them. Lisa could hear twigs snapping in the underbrush, a rhythm keeping pace with their flight. It was then she realized the growling was closer now. Doing everything she could to ignore it, she pressed onward, dragging the children behind her. Mom, what was that? Mia's voice trembled, mirroring Lisa's own dread. The innocent question left an echo of torment in the air. Just keep moving, she whispered, swallowing hard. Her eyes darted around the dense trees, searching for the source of the menace that hung over them like a dark cloud. Had it always been this monstrous? Suddenly, the undergrowth exploded beside them as a figure lunged from the shadows. Lisa screamed, instinctively pushing the kids behind her, the protective instinct surging within her. The creature was monstrous, a large, shadowy form with eyes like burning coals and jagged teeth that dripped with darkness. Run! She yelled, her heart racing. They dashed deeper into the woods, branches scraping at their faces, the sound of the creature's growl echoing behind them, a rising crescendo of despair. Behind them, Lisa could hear it crashing through the trees, relentless and hungry. The darkness seemed to close in tighter, as if it wanted them to fail, to be devoured. Mom! Ben cried, his voice cracking in terror. Hold on to each other! Lisa shouted, barely breathing. They stumbled through the foliage, panic turning the forest into a suffocating maze. She could feel the shadows tightening their grip, whispering poison-sweet invitations promising safety and warmth, yet hiding their true intent. The ground suddenly dipped sharply, and Lisa nearly lost her footing. They tumbled down a small ravine, landing hard on a bed of leaves. Lisa groaned, shaking her head to clear the stars swirling in her vision. She pushed herself upright, her first instinct to check on the kids. Are you okay? She gasped, scanning the darkness for Ben and Mia. Was she too late to save them? Just hurt a little, Mia whimpered, her small voice edged with fear. Ben's response was a shallow breath, but relief flooded her when she saw him sitting up. What do we do now, Mom? His eyes glistened with tears reflecting the thin light that threaded through the trees above. We find a way out, Lisa replied, steeling her nerves. She glanced around their new surroundings. The ravine felt different, more enclosed, the shadows thicker than before. A distant, echoing roar split the air, sending a fresh wave of dread cascading over them. It was an otherworldly sound, more animalistic than anything Lisa had ever heard. They needed an escape, and soon. Stay low, she said, urging them forward across the small clearing at the bottom of the ravine, inching along the edge of thick shadows. She felt the air grow colder, thick with the smell of moss and decay. As they crept ahead, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A glimmering silhouette darted past them, barely visible in the dim light. Was it real? Or another trick of the darkness? Mom, what was that? Mia whispered, fear rippling in her tone. I don't know. But even as she spoke the words, a chill crept down her spine. Something was waiting, watching them. Then without warning, the shadows surged, sprawling toward them like grasping hands. Lisa's breath caught as she turned quickly, pulling the kids tight against her. She could feel an otherworldly presence creeping, curling around them as if it sought to devour their very essence. Mom! Ben screamed again, his fragile voice breaking through the suffocating tension. "Run!" Lisa shouted, knowing full well that the shadows had closed and they were trapped. As the darkness pressed its final attack, a chilling voice whispered through the air once more, sultry and near, "You cannot escape, you belong to us now." No longer just an echo, the words sliced through the terror enveloping them, seeping into the very marrow of her bones. She squeezed her eyes shut against the encroaching darkness. She had to find a way out, but in this suffocating void, would they ever see the light again? The shadows thickened around them, and with a last shove fueled by desperation, Lisa yelled, "Whatever it is, we want to let you take us." And just then, the laughter exploded all around them, shrill and derisive, the world around them cascading into chaos. What would emerge from the shadows next? Would it be salvation or a fate worse than death? The shadows shimmered, warping the little light that dared to pierce the darkness. Lisa's heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a wild animal trying to escape its cage. She could feel the cool hand of dread wrapping around her throat, squeezing, threatening to choke her silent. "We need to keep moving," she repeated, gripping the kids tightly. They scrambled to their feet, Mia looking one way and Ben the other as if sensing danger from all sides. The laughter still echoed, a taunting melody that made their skin crawl. Lisa glanced around, desperate for direction. They were in a hollow, swallowed by ancient trees that leaned in too closely, whispering secrets of the night, but the growl was back, a low, rumbling threat that vibrated through the ground beneath their feet. "We have to find a path," Lisa urged, breaking into a hurried gallop, dragging the children after her. Their small feet struggled to keep up. Every now and then she heard Ben stumble, gasping for breath. "We can't leave Dad," Mia cried out, her voice cracking. A fresh wave of anguish coursed through Lisa. The memory of their last moments together tore at her heart. "He's out there searching for us. We need to be safe so we can find him," she yelled, hoping to ignite a flicker of hope. The laughter from the shadows intensified, a cacophony echoing like a broken record. "You think you can fight the darkness?" it jeered, a voice slithering through the air. "We can do this," Lisa whispered fiercely, though terror clawed at her resolve. Something against the dark urged her on, a feeble want for survival. They stumbled further into the shadows, moving past twisted roots and damp earth that sunk beneath them. Suddenly, a heavy silence descended. The shadows shifted, pulling back, revealing a narrow path that meandered between the trees. Relief swept over her. "This way," she urged, leading her children forward, but as they moved closer, the path twisted in odd angles. Faint figures flitted between the trunks, faces obscured yet eyes glinting with malice. Lisa stopped, clutching Mia tightly while Ben stumbled into her, his small body seeking comfort. "What is it, Mom?" Mia looked up, her eyes wide and terrified. "There's something not right here," Lisa replied, her voice shaking. The threat still loomed, circling them. The figures grew more defined, shadowed figures with scowling grins that bled into the darkness. "Look!" Ben pointed, voice trembling. A tall shape, darker than the night itself, slithered into view. It climbed the very trees, its form gliding with a slow, unnerving deliberation. "Mom!" She pulled the kids closer, forcing her mind to think. "Stay behind me," she whispered, trying to exude confidence she didn't feel. The creature, with its elongated limbs and sharp, glistening claws, paused when it saw them, the grin widening into a silent scream of hunger. Royal horror seeped into Lisa's veins. They needed an escape now before it closed in. Panic ignited primal instincts. In a swift motion, she grabbed Ben's hand and pulled him with her, urging Mia forward, charging along the path that coiled ahead. The shadows writhed, monstrous shapes slithering behind them. She could hear the heavy breathing, the rumbling growl merging with their frantic footfalls. "Don't look back," she shouted. She couldn't afford hesitation or fear. "Just run." They tore through the twisted path, cursing the branches that snagged at their clothes. The oppressive darkness thinned as they pressed on, but the sounds of pursuit were constant, echoing behind them, intent on catching up. Then, without warning, the ground gave way, sliding beneath their feet. Lisa struggled to regain balance, slowing their momentum. "Hold on," she cried, but sudden dread rose in her chest at eye and the unnatural stillness that followed. Lisa's heart sank. They found themselves at a crumbled edge, gaping into a vast void where nothing existed, a chasm, silent and dark, a shadowy abyss that threatened to swallow them whole. "I can't take another step," Mia whimpered, terror gripping her voice. "What now?" Ben's eyes brimmed with tears. Suddenly, the creature's growl sliced through the air, resonating with a promise of devouring darkness. The laughter returned, louder now, wrapping around them like a chain, tugging them toward the edge. "Turn back!" Lisa screamed, her mind racing. The path behind blurred into chaos, and she couldn't see the shadows anymore. But the creature loomed over them, growing larger with every heartbeat, its true form revealed in the dim light. As panic tightened its hold, Lisa felt an odd tugging in her chest, a compulsion fluttering dangerously close. The shadows, in their dance of despair, beckoned to them again. Was this where they would meet their fate? Would the darkness claim them after all? As the laughter crescendoed, echoing through the vastness, they had one last choice to make. Would they leap into the void, desperate to escape a fate worse than death? Lisa narrowed her eyes. "We jump," she commanded. Was this the price of survival, or the final mistake that would end them all? Time seemed to twist as Lisa felt the air chill around them. The edge loomed above the abyss, whispering promises of freedom or demise. Her voice quivered as she shouted, "Now!" They leaped together, hearts thundering, fear mixing with a primal hope. The gravitational pull of darkness enveloped them, swallowing their screams. Then nothing. Just the suffocating void. Lisa's eyes snapped open, gasping in a patch of dim moonlight. They crashed onto a dense carpet of leaves, softening their fall but leaving her breathless. They lay on the forest floor, trembling. She blinked, trying to shake the lingering terror. "Mom?" Ben's voice cut through the fog. I'm here, are you okay?" She turned to him, her heart hammering not just from the scare of their leap but from his frail, trembling form. Mia stirred beside them, her wide eyes reflecting the sliver of moonlight. "What just happened?" A deep shiver rippled through her body. "I don't know, but we're alive," Lisa assured, though uncertainty gnawed at her. The laughter was gone, replaced by an unsettling stillness. The shadows around them shifted, figures slinking from the trees, revealing a world eerily altered. No longer pursuing, no longer threatening, but watching in silence. "What is this place?" Mia wondered, fear barely masked in her voice. This wasn't the forest from before. The foliage seemed darker, the trees taller and denser, as if newly woven into a confounding maze. An otherworldly presence enveloped them, clutching them in its grip. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged. The moon caught the glint of its eyes, a feral shimmer, much like the creature they had escaped. It was smaller, less foreboding at first glance, yet it radiated a strange power that compelled Lisa to take a step back. "Who are you?" she demanded, courage warring against terror. The figure tilted its head, an unnatural smile breaking across its face. "I'm your guide," it sang, voice dripping with mockery. "You've taken the leap, now you must navigate what lies beneath." "Where's our dad?" Mia blurted out, desperation coloring her plea. The creature paused, its smile widening. "Ah. The lost one, he's near, but does he seek you, or something more?" Lisa's stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" "Every choice echoes in this dark realm. Pathways split. His may not lead to you, for you have changed the course." It stepped closer, its elongated limbs brushing against the leaves, the haunting grin never fading. A chill ran down Lisa's spine. "We need to find him," she half shouted, determination igniting her. "Then seek him where the light fails and the shadows play," the creature replied cryptically, before fading back into the darkness. Lisa exchanged fearful glances with Mia and Ben. "We can't waste time. Come on, we'll find him together." They stood, shaky but resolute, the mysterious weight of the creature's words hanging in the air. The trees surrounded them like towers. The further they ventured, the more whispers echoed a language she didn't understand but felt resonating deep within her soul, but something was shifting. The shadows, once just a blur, now took form, swirling around them like vultures, hungry and alive. Mom Ben's voice trembled, drawing her focus back to the churning woods. What? She snapped, anxiety flooding her senses. His eyes widened, staring at the darkness creeping closer, the laughter morphing into ominous echoes. I think they're angry. Suddenly, the forest ignited into a cacophony of sounds. The laughter returned, curved and guttural, resonating with malicious glee. Lisa's heart dropped. We need to move. The path ahead twisted into an uncertain spiral, choices blurring before her, darkness tugging from all sides. As they rushed forward, battling their fears, Lisa couldn't help but wonder, if they discovered their father, would he still recognize them? Engulfed by uncertainty, they pressed on. But out there, within the shadows, lurked the answer to a ruinous choice. What awaited them on the other side of darkness? Would they escape, or would they plunge deeper into the terror of what lay hidden in the void? With every step, the shadows whispered a promise or a curse, and only one thing was certain: in this unholy realm, nothing was as it seemed. Lisa's heart raced as she led her children forward, deeper into the forest that pulsed with a dark life of its own. The shadows twisted around them, promising chaos and despair. A wall of cold air pressed against their backs, whispering of the dangers lurking just beyond the trees. We need to stay close, she shouted, her voice echoing against the sinister backdrop. Each step felt heavy, weighted down by dread. Yet, they moved, drawn by something instincts told them. It was a desperate hope that kept them pushing ahead. Mom, I'm scared. Mia's voice trembled, breaking the morbid silence. Lisa turned to her, finding both fear and an unwavering resolve in Mia's wide eyes. I know, sweetie, we're going to find a way out together, she reassured, tightening her grip on their hands. Suddenly, the laughter returned, swirling around them like a whirlwind. You think you can escape? It taunted, echoing through the branches. Shadows darted closer, flickering just out of sight. Lisa felt the air thicken, shadows coiling around them like serpents. A glimmer, a flicker of hope, danced ahead, a faint glow peeking through the crushing darkness. It felt real, charged with promise. Look! Ben pointed, his voice a mix of excitement and fear. It's over there. Stay together, Lisa commanded. Fear clawed at her chest, but she pushed through, adrenaline propelling her forward. They ran towards the light, the shadows hissing in protest, snapping at their heels. Lisa's mind raced. What truth lay within that light? Would it lead them to their father? Or would it betray them yet again? They burst into a clearing, a halo of moonlight washing over them, revealing a sacred circle surrounded by ancient trees. The ground glimmered with silver leaves that seemed to hum with energy. Lisa could hardly breathe. This has to be it, she whispered, glancing at her children, hope blooming within her chest. But as soon as they entered, the laughter grew louder, bitter and mocking, penetrating the fragile moment. The shadows shifted, congealing together until they formed dark shapes, humanoid figures with hollow eyes, extending their hands toward the family. You can't stay here. You're not safe, Ben yelled, panic seeping into his voice. Over there. Lisa pointed toward a narrow path illuminated by a strange light further away. We have to go. She grabbed their hands, racing toward it, but the shadows lunged, reaching for their ankles, freezing them in place. A searing scream erupted from Mia as the shadows clawed at her. Hold on, Mia. Don't let go, Lisa shouted, feeling the icy grip of despair trying to pull them apart. They struggled, Lisa fighting with every ounce of strength to free her child from the shadow's grasp. Mom! Help me! Mia cried, tears streaming. Lisa locked eyes with her daughter, determination burning in her heart. She couldn't let fear win. With a surge of power born from the very essence of love, Lisa yanked Mia free, pulling her into her embrace. They stumbled away from the dark figures, fear hammering in their chests. Run! She screamed again, and they sprinted toward the glowing path, shadows retreating as they crossed into its light. It felt like a sanctuary, but even so, they could hear the shadows hissing in outrage. The moment they stepped beyond, the air shifted. The shadows howled behind them but remained trapped at the border of light. The trio stood on the threshold, panting heavily, disoriented but alive. Lisa turned back, watching as the dark figures flailed, clawing uselessly at the barrier that separated them. "Where do we go now?" Mia asked, her small voice barely above a whisper. "Where the light fails and the shadows play," Lisa murmured the creature's words from before, the realization dawning upon her. "We go to where hope is hidden," she replied, channeling courage she didn't know she possessed. "Right." Ben looked between them, rallying for their next step. "Let us go find Dad." Together, hand in hand, they stepped further into the path of light, a winding route that shimmered with possibility, leading them away from darkness, toward a new destination. With every step, Lisa felt chains break, the weight of fear beginning to lift. Ahead shone a new path, one more lit than the last, with flickering stars hanging low. It was beautiful, mesmerizing in a way that felt oddly reassuring. "What if he's waiting for us?" Mia broke the silence, her eyes wide with innocent hope. "Then we'll find him together," Lisa declared, her heart pounding in the rhythm of an unbreakable bond. Fear still tiptoed at the edges, but they were alive, united in purpose, each heartbeat echoing the vow they would not let darkness claim them. The journey wouldn't be easy. Shadows still lingered, and uncertainty loomed ahead, but they would face it together. As they moved into the illuminated stretch, shadows faded behind them, retreating into a memory. "It's going to be okay," Lisa murmured to her children, fueling their shared strength with her unwavering belief. "We can do this." And with determination, they walked on, hearts ignited by hope. The darkness finally began to fall behind them. Now, it was their turn to rediscover light. That if you enjoyed this gripping conclusion, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to keep the algorithm fueled and keep us thriving. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let us know what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters. Let's keep this adventure alive.